game. Time to play the game!
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Toe Knows Everything podcast. This is our TFC Roundtable edition. We're going to call today's episode the Armageddon edition because yesterday in Toronto, it was a colossal defeat of TFC, the Raptors and the Leafs. And before we get into TFC, I just want to say it was terrible. We had three major teams here in Toronto, losing 3 games, major games, 2 teams in the playoffs. TFC against our arch rivals that we've lost to the finals in the MLS Cup, Seattle Sounders. It was a day to remember. They were calling it Super Saturday. It was the worst frickin' Saturday in history here in Toronto when it comes to sports. Before I introduce all of my guests, I want to introduce our newest sponsor, which is Popeye Supplements here in Woodbridge. We want to give a big shout out to Popeye Supplements. You can see I'm wearing a little bit of their garb. We got tons of prizes to give away, and all you got to do, people, is go on to this podcast, go to @GTA Sportsplex and @Popeyes Woodbridge. Make sure that you make a comment, tag at least 3 people, and you will be entered into a draw to win these amazing supplements from Popeyes Woodbridge. So we want to thank Popeyes Woodbridge, support our sponsors. These are the guys who keep this podcast going. So big shout out to you, Popeyes Woodbridge. All right, I want to introduce, starting with Mr. Santiago from TFC on the Road. He's been one of our regular guests, and he is back, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what he thinks of yesterday's game versus Seattle Sounders, and he's going to talk to us about the trip that he's organizing to Montreal in July. Everyone get ready for that. It's going to be incredible. I've also got NIKO, our in-house analyst, TFC analyst for TFC Roundtable here at Sportsplex 2. Welcome, NIKO, and DANTE THOMASIS, who is a TFC super fan and commentator. So welcome, guys. Guys, just in general, before we get to TFC, what do you guys think about yesterday? It was deemed to be Super Saturday. It was the worst frickin' Saturday we've ever had in sports here in Toronto. I spent all day watching losing teams. The Jays won, but like you said, NIKO, before, they lost anyways because the stadium's empty. No one's at Rogers Center. So Jays don't count. The 3 major teams, Raptors, Leafs, TFC, triple whammy, all lose. What do you guys think?
How do we have 3 games that big and I found myself happiest watching golf yesterday is what I want to know.
Well, yeah, you're 100% right. Masters Golf was probably better than watching 3 miserable Toronto teams lose and spending hours and hours and hours hoping for the best and getting the worst.
It was much better watching the golf. I mean, at least I had my players in my pool winning that. Watching the Raptors lose, watching the Leafs lose, watching TFC lose, it was just a glutton for punishment yesterday.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you something. You know, I was hoping for the best with TFC because they introduced their new goalie. I was hoping for a better result. It didn't happen. What was your take on it? What do you think?
It was a tough match to start him up, to start him on the first game of the season. But again, do we trust Bono? I guess we don't have anybody else to put on the net.
Well, so they picked up Quentin from the French league, and he played for a team called Troyes. Just for those of you who are fans and are not Italian, in my Italian dialect, Troyes means whores. So they picked up a whore in France, unfortunately, and they put him on against Seattle Sounders, not a team that you want to be starting this poor guy. I feel for him because they put him in the hot seat. Would you agree, NIKO?
For sure.
It's not that he's a whore.
No.
Would you agree that they put him in the hot seat?
It was a baptism by fire for him, and he came in. Listen, 3 goals on your first debut, not great. But all 3 of those goals get scored if Bono's in net as well. He didn't have a bad game distributing the ball. I mean, when you look at the game...
That's a strong point. You could see it yesterday.
Much better than Bono.
Much better.
His distribution's better. I mean, you look at the game, 3-2... doesn't look great on paper. When you actually watch the game, we did play a lot better than the score seems, but it's a tough game. You're going to Seattle, that's as hard as you're going to have to play on the road.
We got a lot of history with goaltenders in Seattle. Our former goalie, Fry, absolutely. He pulled out all the stops when we played them in the MLS Cup here in Toronto, and we traded him to Seattle, and it's sort of been a curse ever since then. Would you agree, Dante?
Oh, totally. I mean, you go back to the finals and you see what he did. Like, I'll never forget that header.
The Altidore header.
That was
absolutely
unbelievable. And Yeah, Stephen Fry. I mean, he's a quality goalie, I believe. I think
Well,
he's one of the best.
I agree. I totally agree.
in MLS.
One point that I can make about Quentin, he's 32 years old. He comes from the French league. Regardless of whether or not you put him in a game in the hot seat in Seattle, you got to perform. And I got to say, some of those goals were unstoppable, but there were some shaky moments where, especially the third goal, he was frozen. Yep. He didn't move. He had that ball. And if you're a goaltender of that caliber and you've played all over the world, you played in France, you got to stop those shots.
Yep.
Okay, at the end of the day, you know what? You're getting paid for that. The pressure's on. You got to perform under pressure. And he didn't manage to do it. So I'm going to keep saying the biggest problem the TFC is going to have this year is goaltending. The second biggest problem is defense. I feel for Mavinga yesterday. There were moments where he did really well and moments where he completely fumbled. And I think not having Moore in the lineup, I think that makes a big difference.
It's 100%.
But again, at the end of the day, we're going to have a massive problem if we can't fix our defense and goaltending.
Mavinga is our best defender by far and away. Where his weakness is he needs a field general at the back telling him what to do, which is what Drew Moore brings. That's why Moore is so important. He can make Zavaleta look good. He can make Mavinga look better than he is because he tells them where to go and what to do when he's in the middle. Look at our run. Zavaleta started almost every game in our championship run in 2017. Even though he's terrible, Moore held him together with Mavinga on the other side. When you lose that voice, that field general, you fall right apart, and you saw it yesterday on all 3 goals.
Agreed. And every great team has a great field general. Usually it is a sweeper or someone leading the defense, because without a strong defense, you can't have a good offense. That's the bottom line. Let's talk a little bit about the offensive mode of TFC, and I think it's going to be a theme all season long. We saw Pozuelo and Altidore connect once again with the header. Twice again. Just incredible. What do you guys think about this combination? Because obviously they haven't known each other that long, but they seem to have connected really well, and they can read each other.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, this is incredible, guys. I remember mentioning on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I was saying, like, get used to this, guys. It's going to be the norm.
Absolutely.
Every single goal, it seems like Pozuelo to Altidore, Pozuelo to Altidore, Pozuelo to Altidore.
And I think you could see Pozuelo is comfortable as a playmaker. Right now, he may get some goals, but I see him developing the play. I see him reading the play, and I see him feeding who he needs to feed, which is all obviously he feels comfortable with Altidore, and he knows that Altidore can finish.
I want you guys to take a look at that replay, especially on the first goal. Altidore was pointing to where he wanted that ball, and Pozuelo put it right on his head, and he knew exactly what he was thinking.
Josuelo, I've seen it all over Twitter. They've
got it.
crowned them Josuelo, you know? It's
Absolutely.
It's the new dynamic duo at BMO, you know?
I love it.
I agree, and I think for the MLS it's really exciting because you don't often see players of the caliber of Pozuelo. You see him connecting with Altidore, another high caliber player. This is what we need more of in MLS. Although I got to tell you, yesterday Seattle put on quite a show. Great performance. They had Bruin in the front.
Bruin, who's not even the regular striker.
Absolutely.
Filling in for injuries.
Looked very strong in the air, and that's the type of play we like to see. And I think the commentators said it. They said, this is the type of caliber of soccer we'd like to see in the MLS every game, because there have been a lot of slow games. I watched the Vancouver-Chicago Fire game on Friday night. Just the pace isn't the same. But yesterday's game, the pace was phenomenal, and you can see the development of play. People looking for time and space, and that's what you need in this game. And that's what happened yesterday. So I'm really excited about what we're going to see in the future, because obviously the relationship, like we said, between Altidore and Pozuelo is very young. And we can only see better and better things to come, I'm hoping. You agree?
Sure. Oh, totally. I mean, this is like, it's a work of art right now. Like, this, honestly, I think is better than the Jovinko-Altidore relationship.
Agreed.
And the reason why I say that, it's just, I've never seen people in sync before like this. Like I was mentioning earlier, that first goal points to the spot, like, hey, I want it there. Boom, right there.
And Pozuelo made something out of nothing on that goal. He got a bad pass, he fumbled it a little bit, and then he just looked up and put it right on his head.
Exactly. And the through ball after that is just gorgeous.
I think he reads the play better than probably anyone in the MLS right now.
100%.
Right? So he's worth the money if he can continue to play this way.
Can I tell you something that no one's talking about, though? With Pozuelo so in sync with Altidore, can we talk about how not in sync Pozuelo is with Bradley?
Agreed.
I've seen so many fumbled passes between the two. They seem on different pages completely. I mean, I don't know if Bradley's making the bad passes or Pozuelo's not making the runs Bradley thinks he's going to make, but these two guys, they need to figure it out, or it's going to be a tough season from defensive mid to attacking mid. It's going to be tough if those two can't get on the same page.
NIKO, I agree, but I haven't seen the same Bradley that we've seen in the past with TFC. This is a different Bradley, not the general that we're used to. I think for the most part, either he's missing a step or he's not in queue with everyone else. Something is definitely up. He may be playing injured. Who knows? There might be a slight injury. But at the end of the day, this is not the Bradley that we're used to seeing on the pitch.
I've been saying it now for 2 years. There's an infatuation with Bradley in Toronto. Don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic player, but I don't want to be paying designated player money to a defensive midfielder. It doesn't make any sense. You need your attackers, and you need them to be making the most money. Look at all the successful DPs in MLS history. Even this year alone, Wayne Rooney, Ibrahimovic, Carlos Vela, Altidore, Pozuelo, they're all attacking players.
Agreed.
Defensive players don't do so well. Look at Gerrard's time here. Look at Lampard's time here. Even before on Toronto FC, Julian de Guzman.
That's right. Yeah.
Let me say, Bradley is much better than de Guzman, but they played the same role, just de Guzman didn't have the talent Bradley has to distribute to.
Agreed.
So sure, he's a great player. I just don't know if there's a spot in MLS for a defensive player like Bradley on designated player salary.
So just to add fuel to the fire on the rumor mill, Jovinko's agent met with TFC representatives yesterday. Actually, they've been meeting all week in Italy looking at midfielders. So obviously that tells you something. They're shopping. And what does that tell you about Bradley's future here in the MLS and TFC?
I think he'll still stay in the MLS. He'll go to where his father is over there at LAFC.
LAFC?
But it goes to show you that TFC. I mean, here we go, right? It's a whole end of an era, and let's move on. Let's move forward. And let's bring that talent
and I think TFC meeting with Jovinko's agent also quashes a lot of the rumors, which people were talking about TFC having a tiff with Jovinko. I think that's probably water under the bridge. They're moving forward, like you said. This is a new era for TFC. They're trying to find the best players to fit their current lineup, and I think that is exactly what will happen. I think Bradley will eventually end up with his dad in LAFC, and we will see another Italian player here in Toronto. I do believe that.
Oh, we have to, guys. I mean, look at the Italian community here. You need that representation. Like it's just a must. Like you look it upstairs at BMO Field and it's empty.
Right. So that's another point that we made right from when we started this podcast. Doesn't seem to have the same support, even though Pozuelo, I think, is a phenomenal player.
Oh, yeah.
Exciting to watch. On the same level as Jovinko, if not greater, and yet the stands are not filled yet. And yesterday was a great day. It was by no means a cold day here in Toronto. For Toronto, it was great weather. Fans are not coming to the stadium. So what is that telling you? We've got this exciting designated player. Why are they not filling the seats? What's going on? I know yesterday was a big sports day in Toronto. We had the Raptors and the Leafs. But die-hard TFC fans are not coming out the way they used to.
I think it's a combination of things. So the first one is more like, I would say, just because Pozuelo's not a familiar name to everybody, like only to the true.
Is that because he didn't play on a big team like Juventus, like Jovinko did?
100%. 100%. And just that backbone that Juventus has, especially here.
Right.
I'm a Juve fan. I know you are, Tom.
Yep.
And I think
that makes a difference.
That's part of the big reason.
Santiago, I know you're organizing a big trip to Montreal, our arch rivals, down the 401 there. What can we look forward to in the next coming months? Because the trip is in July, right?
Correct.
So there's quite a bit of time for us to see what TFC can do between now and then. What do you think they need to do to prepare for Montreal? And Montreal has lost a lot of marquee players as well. So Montreal is going through a massive transformation. The Argentinian's gone. What do you see for Toronto and Montreal? It's on July 5th, right?
July 13th.
July 13th.
Saturday, July 13th.
Make sure July 13th you are booked. Make sure you get on that bus because the bus is going to fill fast. We've got a whole crew from Sportsplex going. If you want to feel a real soccer environment, sort of like a South American European feel, you need to be on that bus. There's going to be all kinds of things happening on the bus, and we can't tell you because it's like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So get on the bus and you'll find out. But tell us a little bit about the trip on the 13th, right?
Correct, Saturday 13th. So it's on sale at the moment. Regular price $155, on sale for $130. We also have a payment plan if you can't afford At the moment, we do have a payment plan also.
How much is it, Santiago? How much is it for the trip?
For the trip, regular price, $155.
$155. Where are you going to get a round trip to Montreal, atmosphere, ticket, coach bus, hanging out with soccer fans for $150? I can barely get parking at a TFC game for $150. Get on this bus, people. What do you want to see for TFC leading up to that game? What would you like to see? Do you think we need to make changes? Goaltending, defense? What's your opinion?
Yeah, so we got to pick up the pace. I think in the middle we were
not up front, because I think up front we got it taken care of.
Of course.
Right? Although I'd like to see Osorio involved more. I'm starting to see since Pozuelo came over, he's taken a back seat, right? And you can see that.
Absolutely.
But what would you like to see?
Yeah, the middle. Delgado, I don't think he's a starter. I think.
Agreed, man. Agreed.
Yeah.
We need to have somebody with speed.
Let's talk about Delgado, because he came over. He was part of the U.S. national team men's program. A lot of hype about him as a young player. I don't see him gelling with the rest of the team. I don't see the touch. What do you think, Nico?
He's not a starter on this Toronto FC team. He's not good
Agreed.
enough to be a starter on this Toronto FC team. He might be a good player off the bench. Maybe he's a bit better, but at least let me see Chapman in that role. At least let me see Liam Fraser in that role. Or you know what? What I've been begging for is to get that TAM winger that they've been talking about, that's coming, to play down those wings and start feeding the balls in, so you can have Pozuelo in the middle, Altidore up front, and a winger doing some distributing,
Absolutely.
and then take Delgado just completely out. That's the position in the starting lineup I would remove completely and throw a winger in there.
Why do you think the confidence in Delgado? Why has he been starting? Why is he always in the starting 11? What's the deal with that?
Vanny must love him. Vanny must watch him in training, and he sees something that we don't, because he keeps playing him out there, even
That's
after
right.
that horrendous strike in the 117th minute of the CONCACAF Champions League final when Delgado skied a ball that could have won us the tournament.
Absolutely.
But Marky Delgado's known by a name in my household, and it's Marky Delgado Go. Because he's got to go to the bench, he's got to go somewhere else, loan him out to York 9, loan him out anywhere, because he doesn't belong on TFC. Maybe off the bench. It's just what I'm seeing is sloppy passes. I'm seeing terrible decisions on the ball. We need someone else. We need someone better.
So we're all wondering the same thing, because I often wonder the exact same thing. Why does Vanny start this guy? And no offense to him, but at the end of the day, you're playing in a professional league, high caliber. You got designated players, and then you got Marky Delgado. Not of the same caliber as an Altidore, as a Pozuelo, as a Bradley,
As an Osorio.
As an Osorio, absolutely. Yet, time and time again, we see him starting. So this is something that needs to be corrected. I do agree with you. We need a winger who can distribute, who can be part of that attacking play, because right now you only have Pozuelo and Altidore attacking. You need that third person to be the distributor of the ball and set up these plays along with Pozuelo. And if you don't have that, it makes it difficult, especially if, God forbid, something happens to Altidore or something happens to Pozuelo, right? You need somebody there.
And we know the injury issues with Altidore, too.
Absolutely.
So we really got to get Altidore healthy.
Well, I'll tell you, he's been looking strong. He's been looking super strong, very fit, fast. He gets to the ball first,
Jonesy,
and
keep
hopefully
it
he
going,
can stay
man.
healthy. Absolutely. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Who else would you like to see come off the bench? I'm going to tell you, I got a personal bias. I'd like to see Boyd come out, because we had Boyd here, and I think he deserves a second chance. Obviously, he's been sitting. I think it has a lot to do with him missing the penalty shot in the CONCACAF game against the Panamanians. But I would like to see him have a shot and come back on, because the guy's got Bundesliga experience. And guys like that, you can only let them sit and stir for so long before they start getting frustrated, because they want to play. Players want to play, especially players who got that fire in them, and he definitely does, because I met him personally, and I know he's got the passion and the will. Young guy, played for the U.S. men's national team, so I'd like to see him have another opportunity.
I agree. And come on, guys. We all make mistakes in life, but, I mean, it's a penalty shot. It's not like something else, right? Like Terrence Boyd is the type of guy that when he's on the field, you can get that hold-up play. And especially with Altidore, you could give him some rest as well. And for example, when we're blowing out NYCFC,
That's right.
Why can't Terrence Boyd play in one of those
Absolutely,
games?
I agree. And like you said, you gotta play Altidore strategically, right? Sort of like the Raptors doing with Kawhi.
Yes.
I'm not saying you gotta sit him out games, but you gotta give him some time off, right? So
absolutely.
there's got to be a 15-minute period where you say, it's not worth getting this guy injured. We need him long term.
I'm with you guys. Boyd deserves a second chance. However, I'm gonna say I want to see more Akinola. You know what, Boyd we know what Boyd is. He is a good player. They're tempted because they're nervous about the PK. We know what he is, though. He's already an established player. Akinola's a young kid coming up who had interest from Eindhoven out in Europe. Or I always say it wrong. Eindhoven, whatever it is. Right. And we agreed to pay him more to come here. And he's been looking good when he's out there with Altidore. He plays Altidore right. If we have two strikers of that quality going in separate directions with the Pozuelo in the middle, that's what I want to see.
And I think he's a local boy, right? If I'm not mistaken.
So he's, I forget what African country it is, American and Canadian. He was born in Detroit, I believe, but grew up in Canada.
Right.
U.S. is trying to cap him right now. But again, he is that local boy too. He's got that feel to it. I want to see what we have in him. I want to see if he's developed because he has looked good.
Absolutely. You got to give these young guys an opportunity.
That game against New England where he scored, honestly, guys, he's a pit bull.
It was a beautiful goal.
He's got talent.
And the Altidore game winner was only possible because Akinola dragged his defender off him.
Exactly.
Like they played well together. I want to see more of that.
Great point. And I think a lot of these players need that opportunity. And I know it's only early on in the season, but you know what? We cannot start on a losing streak. You can see yesterday the players sort of looked deflated out there. Yeah. Although I got to give it to Seattle because a whole bunch of things that I noticed about Seattle. The stadium is phenomenal. Yeah. The atmosphere seemed like TFC in the heyday. It was phenomenal, and that's got to be a hard place to play out there in Seattle because those fans are serious fans. I think the team is owned by what's the guy who does The Price is Right? Drew Carey.
He has an ownership. I actually met him in Toronto for the finals.
There
he was
you go.
Here.
Absolutely. Wow. And they have pumped millions of dollars into creating the right atmosphere. And I got to tell you, it's a tough place to play because as a former player, I know when you go into those hostile environments, it is tough. It plays with your psyche. Unless you're really strong mentally, that's going to have an effect on you.
Seattle fans are passionate in general. I mean, you switch gears to the NFL, the Seahawks. That is a crazy place to play. You can't even hear yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It just shows the
What
passion.
other teams this year in the MLS do we need to watch out for? Who do you think? Are there any teams
LAFC, I think, is going to be the unanimous answer because they're looking like Atlanta of last year with Carlos Vela just putting in every single goal, assisting on everything, Rossi doing everything. Like, this team looks legitimately scary.
Absolutely. And Bradley's dad's part of that roster as well.
Dominating.
So, guys, basically, here's my whole point of this show. The point of the show is to rally TFC fans, and we need to rally back and support this team. So my plea to all the fans is let's get back to the stadium, let's support the guys, because if you are a die-hard true TFC fan, you're going to support them through thick and thin. And whether management screws up and the coach screws up and players screw up, it doesn't matter because die-hard fans will stick with their team through good and bad. It happened with Juventus when they got relegated to Serie B back when there was all the Calciopoli stuff and the money, a bribery scandal. The fans stuck with them, and so did a lot of players. Some players left, like Ibrahimovic, who was a Juventino, decided I'm not sticking with them, and he took off, and you've sort of seen his career, whereas other players like Del Piero stuck with them, Buffon stuck with them through thick and thin, and that's what I think we need to see here in Toronto. Would you agree, Santiago?
Absolutely.
What kind of people are on the bus going down to these road trips? Are they diehard fans? Are they fans in general? What kind of people?
He's the owner of this business. Let me, a customer of TFC on the road like last year, explain my experience to Montreal. It was electric.
Awesome.
As soon as you get into Montreal, everyone starts chanting from the bus to every Montrealer in the street. Awesome. Everyone's yelling at them. We're doing all the TFC chants. We're walking down Montreal screaming and singing. It was one of the best sporting experiences in my life, and I got to thank Santiago for running this because it was amazing. I recommend everyone to go because I had such a great time.
And Montreal's a big sports city, right? You know, they got a big culture of sports. They had the Expos back in the day, the Montreal Canadiens, and now they got their Montreal MLS team, which I got to say they've done a phenomenal job with as well. They're going through some restructuring too, but they got Saputo Stadium, a soccer-specific stadium, which is an amazing atmosphere for soccer, and Montreal fans are die-hard, and they support. But when the team is doing crappy, they shit on the team and they make sure management knows about it. And that's something that we should do here in Toronto. We don't. We stick through teams. We stick with them through thick and thin, which is what I just said, and you need to do that. But you got to be heard by management. You got to let them know. We need to do something to improve the situation, and I think Montreal does that very well. So I'm looking forward to this trip. It's going to be awesome. And we all are going to be on that bus supporting you, supporting the team, and supporting Toronto, and making sure that they hear us in Montreal, right? We're ready to fight. We got off the bus.
Sure.
We're good to go?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely. Yeah, so just keep in mind, we do a lot of giveaways, a lot of merchandise, a lot of TFC
merchandise. So if they follow you at TFC on the road, they have an opportunity to win that merchandise.
Correct. So that jersey there, we give it away on the bus. NIKO,
Amazing.
I won the jersey giveaway
Amazing.
last year on the bus. It was the new white ones. Everyone wanted to kill me for about 5 minutes, but it was great.
There you go. So if you win that jersey, your trip is paid for. So
Exactly.
there you go.
So make sure you follow Santiago at TFC on the road. We're also going to have some prizes. If you follow us at GTA Sportsplex today, we've got 2 TFC toques and a game official ball that we're going to be giving away. Make sure you comment, tag 3 friends, follow us for a chance to win some amazing prizes. So guys, let's wrap it up. TFC plays this Friday. They got a home game. I'm going to be there. I hope you guys will be there as well.
Yep.
What are we looking forward to for this Friday? What do we need to do differently to make sure we win this game?
Dear Lord, stop Quintero on Minnesota. I don't want to see him go off for another hat trick like he did last year against us. Last year that defense was soft as all hell in that game. So I'm not expecting that to happen again. But Minnesota's a team that they're not that great. I'm going to be real. They have a nice new stadium.
Although they just opened the new Allianz Stadium.
They have a gorgeous stadium.
Amazing stadium.
But you know what? They're a team that we should handle very easily in our home.
Right.
So we just need to make sure we get the job done.
Agreed. What do you think?
I gotta say here, don't take this team lightly. They scored a lot of goals on the weekend, and very dangerous up front. Guys, as we know, our defense is pretty shaky. Our goalie, we'll see what happens. But I could see this being a high.
Do you think
scoring
Bono
game.
starts again this Friday?
No.
Or do they go with Quentin again?
I think they go with him again.
NIKO, what do you think?
I think Vanny goes back to Bono.
Yeah.
I would love to see Quentin now keep playing until either Bono regains it or Quentin loses it. But I think Vanny goes back to Bono. And look for Alro to be back. They said he could have played last weekend, but they didn't want to bring him to Seattle. He'll be back this week too. Hopefully Moore's back.
That's a big.
And I do think Bono starts, although I would like to see Quentin keep getting some more games in.
Absolutely, because he needs those touches to get better. That's the only way. What do you think, Santiago? What do you need to see this Friday?
Yeah, so I think we should go 2 forwards up top.
So who do we want to see? Altidore and who?
I would rest Altidore.
Would rest him this week.
Boyd and
wow, that's a Kawhi Leonard move. So you're going to rest him
Load
completely.
management.
Yeah, rest them and go with Akinola up top.
Absolutely. I'm going to agree. I think we need to give some players an opportunity. Akinola's a great young player. I actually think he went to Dante Alighieri Academy here in Toronto. He was part of the soccer program there. And some of the coaching that he got was homegrown coaching here from some of the best local coaches in the city. So, yeah, let's give these young players a shot.
Jordan Hamilton, too.
Absolutely.
I know he's been with the team for a bit, but this year he's scored some goals already. He hasn't looked bad.
So let's give these young guys an opportunity. Let's showcase them here at home. Fans, make sure you're at the stadium on Friday supporting TFC. Support the round table. Watch this podcast for prizes every single week. Follow us at GTA Sportsplex and follow Santiago at TFC on the road. We will see you at the next episode, and hopefully we'll see you at the game on Friday. TFC all the way. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control. And if you can take it, it's all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about pay. And who's gonna make it?